Hello and welcome. Today I'm adding Reknum Souls Adventures from the Indie Heroes Collection 2 to my ever-growing list where I rank every Evercade game ever. Reknum Souls Adventure is a fantasy adventure game developed by Nape Games and is apparently loosely tied to the Ploid games, but on a very different timeline and reality. Whatever, who cares? The game plays out with an overworld map similar to a Zelda-style game, and then you have 2D side-scrolling levels where you climb ladders and shoot things.
Graphics.
Visually, Reknum Souls Adventure isn't too bad. Everything does have a very basic look to it, but it's clean and easy to read, and although visually fairly simplistic, it does the job. Although I would say the 2D platforming sections do get the better end of the deal. The overland stuff seems like there's a bit too much repetition of the tiles, or maybe it's just more noticeable given the ground tile look.
Sound and music.
The sound effects are, well, they're perfectly functional. I wouldn't say they're particularly memorable or stand out, but they do the job well enough. The music is quite atmospheric and is very reminiscent of other things. I wouldn't say it's a complete and utter rip-off, but certain things you'll be sure you've heard before, and maybe if you're more of a Nintendo game player than I have ever been, they'll seem even more familiar, maybe. But off the top of my head, I couldn't really say if it's that close or it's just a very similar vibe. But yeah, it felt familiar musically. But it's pretty good. It suits the kind of game and the more somber atmosphere it's going for.
Gameplay.
Despite the dual gameplay style, both are very simplistic. The overland map will essentially have you walking around and attacking things, occasionally collecting a key or talking to an NPC. And in the 2D platforming sections, you'll be running around, climbing ladders, jumping things, killing some enemies, collecting keys and talking to the odd NPC. It's a fairly simplistic game. There are weapon power-ups or other weapons to get, some slight puzzles here and there, but it is a very gameplay light sort of adventure style game. Although it is a more ambitious game than Ploid, and I think better executed, it still suffers a number of the same problems. Once again, all the key ingredients are present, but they never come together in an enjoyable, cohesive whole, which results in a very bland, unengaging game that won't hold your attention for its entire runtime. I think it took me around an hour to finish, maybe. I can't recall exactly.
Overall opinion.
Another misfire from Nape Games. Although it is an improvement on Ploid, it still ultimately misses the mark, which is a shame as there's some nice ideas at play.
Ranking.
Placing it on my overall ranking list of every Evercade game ever, I'm placing Reknum Souls Adventure above Metagalactic Llama's Battle at the Edge of Space, or Time, whatever it is, but below Super Deflex, placing it at 369 out of 399 games that I've ranked so far. Anyway, I think that's quite enough for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.